Hey, everybody. I know I'm busy, but I haven't forgot about you out there. And I'm working on some things and setting things up as we go into 2024. But I want to key in on some people as we move into 2024 and put them in the spotlight and dive a little deeper into them. And the two that I'm going to show you right here that was on the thumbnail, Amanda Grace and Troy Black. These two have gotten on my nerves over the last few months more and more. And there's a ton of them. But these soothsayers, these fortune tellers, whatever you want to call them, these folks are frauds. And we're going to dive into why and get a little deeper with them. For them to set up, if you look at some of these thumbnails from some of the videos they made. Like, let's start with Amanda Grace. As you can see there, talking about the tree toppled down because of and all of this, and it's got the picture of Democrats down in the left end of the thing. It's something political all the time. It's always some vindication. She's reading from a screen, and that's capital. And she'll read a sentence, and then the word yes is highlighted capital, and she'll start, this all of this always reading from some type of script. And they're set there. If you notice, they always jotting all this stuff down because they just getting these downloads, supposedly, from the Lord. And here's the thing. And then old Troy, him and his little tricky self, because Troy's slick. And he's very slick. And a seasoned believer can see through it. But I've noticed that appears he's got some believers, some older people that, they think that he's serving the Lord and things. And then they use the Joel 2:28, this verse where, the young sons and daughters, prophesying and seeing in visions, and old men will have dreams. That's the verse that these false teachers, especially Troy, now he wants to give a disclaimer up front and say, and utilize that verse. But this is the verse that all of these false teachers utilize to justify their lies, to justify what they're doing. And then they'll say, well, don't take it from me. Take it to the Lord and all of that. After that, and the thing is, as I told you before, most of them people that listen to that, they're not going to take it to the Lord. Because if they took it to the Lord and took him to the Lord, took Amanda Grace to the Lord, sincerely, the Lord will pull that wool off their eyes and allow them to see that that's a wolf. That's what will happen in real life. But these folks, they just take the words of reassurance from these folks. And they set up there, Amanda Grace, she's on this tyrant, she's part of this. And I've got some messages that I'm going to deal with. I'm going to title it as Spiritual Bullies is what I'm going to be talking about on particular messages coming up. That's one. There's one of it. And these folks, that's what they basically are. They're sitting there. They've got this agenda where they're just focused on somehow redemption and retribution. And their so-called anger that God's supposed to have towards a specific group of people when they don't even realize that judgment is upon them. They don't even realize it. I tell people this all the time. Judgment is upon America right now. And these folks, these evangelicals that have been talked about, the ones that have turned their back on the Christ for power, the ones that are utilizing the social media for gain to spread and pump up their own ego and self-esteem and lies and money and all of that. This is what's happening. God's judgment. It happened during the pandemic. I told you the Lord was exposing people, closing up shop, all of this stuff. Doors closing on everything, exposing people and preachers and teachers for who they really are. And all the while the exposure has happened, people have become fallen for the snare of the devil, is what they've happened, many of them. And they find themselves listening to a Troy, listening to Amanda faithfully, as if it's like the old, when I was a kid, our local paper, and I haven't been saved all my life like some of these people. You ever notice that? That's a whole nother subject. A lot of these so-called people, I told you, they don't even have a testimony. Their testimonies are very vague testimonies. Some of them, they have, these testimonies that you never hear them talk about anything where their conversion experience and things like that, anything. And if it is a conversion experience, it's like, really? I mean, yeah, it's very suspect. But, they sit there and act like they've been saved all their entire lives, many of them. And they act like they just living so that they haven't sinned, that they're sinless, and everybody else is doing wrong, and they can do no wrong. But as a kid, I would love to get this paper and look at the daily horoscopes. I'm a Capricorn, according to the astrology stuff, and I would go in there and see what it had to say and get my little guidance or whatever I thought it was interesting, and wondering, was this going to happen, and all of these types of things. And that's what I would do to guide my life somehow. And that's before knowing the Lord. But unfortunately, there's people on YouTube that have succumbed to these types, the Amanda Graces, the Troy Blacks, and many, 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 many others, as their daily dose of a horoscope for some type of direction in their life based upon following these types of people. In reality, I told you before, you follow these types of people, you're outside of the will of God because you're disobedient. You shouldn't be listening to them because they're not following God. Many of these people have been sent by the devil himself, and he has placed them there to set traps and a snare so that you can be off course and thinking that you're walking in the spiritual walk and walking with the Holy Spirit. And you're not walking with the Holy Spirit because the Holy Spirit is not going to lead you to untruths. He's not going to lead you into the big lie and have you down on the Capitol on January the 6th with all the false prophets, hanging out with them, live streaming, as some of you know who I'm talking about, but hanging out with these folks, others pointing staffs towards the Capitol, hanging out. The Holy Spirit was not going to have you doing all of that stuff. The Holy Spirit's not going to have you bearing false witness, because that's what many of them are doing. Bearing false witness. This is not of Christ. That's what they're doing, including Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. He's bearing false witness and claimed that he's this great man of the Lord, and he's just another one of them. A Christian nationalist that has no business being anywhere in the political realm. He can take that crap and go start up his own stuff somewhere and take it elsewhere. This is America. This is places around the world is going to be affected with everything. And we're not taking the Taliban-style religion that they want to push and have it shoved down people's throat. Because I don't want that version. I told somebody that earlier today on the Christian, Christian Post or whatever, in a discussion with somebody. I told them, nobody wants that form of Christianity. The Mike Johnson and all of these Amanda Grace, nobody wants that type of Christianity. Who wants that? Who wants to be a part of that? That's a turnoff. No one wants to be a part of that. When I was seeking the Lord, if I would have came across these types of people, they would have ran me away quickly. Thank God I had some understanding, loving, believing, Bible believing, but they weren't Bible bashers. They knew I was living in sin. They knew I was living a rotten lifestyle. I was a rotten, low down, dirty, sinner. And I was doing wrong. But the Lord saved me, and I'm forever grateful. And I'm forever grateful for those people that he put in my life that was walking in the right way and doing what they supposed to do. These types of people, beware. We're going to key in on them. We're going to key in on some serious things as we move into 2024 while they're working on their horoscopes for 2024. So until the next message, Evangelism for God. If you're new, consider subscribing, hit like, coming along for the journey. I'm Maurice Braxton. Take care. God bless.